Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Okay, part 3 of a 3-part series where I've gone into my unfinished project cupboard and pulled out some journals that I'd created, and now I'm just going through the last stages of double checking them and making sure everything is flipping and flopping correctly. And yeah, a little bit more embellishing. I sort of just feel like they need a little bit more bits and bobs added to them. So welcome and thank you for joining me, and let's go. Let's get these little journals finished so then I can move on to the next adventure. All right, where's my glue book? Here's my glue book. Okay, glue in hand and away we go. So if you've watched the last 2 episodes, you will know there were 5 in total, and I've just been stitching the signatures in and then doing a little bit of embellishing. So I just plan to, I guess, finish them off, and then they're ready just to pop into the cupboard. Some bits and pieces here. Pop into the cupboard and can be grabbed if needed for a gift, or, you know, added to another journal. Who knows? I'm just sick of looking at them undone. And I think I worked out why I never finished them is because so much energy went into creating the cover, because the covers are all collaged, and there's quite a bit of what would you say? What am I trying to say? Work. There was a lot of effort that went into the covers, and it took a while. So I think that's why it just never got done. Or, you know what it'd be? Squirrel, something better come along that I wanted to immediately try. It'll be a YouTube video that pops up, and then we're like, ooh, want to try that. I'm going to make a little top tag there on that one. Something different. So my guess is that's what happened. A little bit of a squirrel moment. Excuse me. Now, if you watched yesterday's video, you would know that I was shipped my apricot nectar to make apricot chicken by my local supermarket, who sent me my delivery. We won't discuss how it arrived. You'll need to watch yesterday's video to find out the saga with that. But you'll be pleased to know I have my chicken, and today I plan to cook it. And I had a few people ask me, what the hang was apricot chicken? So today we're going to have a cooking lesson. And porcupines was the other thing. Everyone was like, a lot of the Aussies were like, oh, I know what porcupines is. But some of our American friends were like, what do you mean porcupines? So we're going to have a cooking lesson today. So if you want to make apricot chicken, you need to grab some pieces of chicken. So you could use your thighs, your wings, and your drumsticks. I don't usually use the breast meat because it goes into the oven to bake off, and it the breast meat just doesn't handle the oven as well as those other cuts. So highly recommend you use, and there's Pepper and Bandit saying hello. Yeah, highly recommend that you don't use the breast as part of it. You could, but you'd have to be very careful with the cooking process. So if you want to set and forget, stick to those other cuts. So in a casserole dish, you lay out all your pieces. You then cover the entire dish with the apricot nectar, and also the can. When you've poured it over the whole thing, the can can be filled up 3/4 with water, and pour that in as well. That just makes the apricot nectar thinner and adds more liquid to the process so that you will get, you know, a nice sauce at the end, and it gives something for the chicken to cook within. So you do need to add that water. I think the recipe is a cup of water, but I just use the can. So I pour the nectar in and then the can of water over the top of it. So nice and simple that process is. Making a big tag top edge there. Then you get 1 packet of French onion soup and you sprinkle that over the whole dish. You can mix it in with all the liquids, and you probably should, but you know, if you don't want to make a mess in another bowl, I just do that. I just add all of the dishes in onto all of the ingredients in onto the actual chicken. Then you put the chicken into the oven on 180 degrees. Not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but Mr. Google can convert that for you. And bake it for about 40 minutes or until the chicken is cooked. And of course, if you poke the chicken and your knife goes in, just going to put that there. If your knife goes in easily, then the chicken is cooked, or there's no blood, or, you know. You might want to turn the chicken pieces halfway through. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I wouldn't say you need to, but, you know, you might like to. So it's really just a baked dish. You can also cover your dish with alfoil, but I like the liquid to be just over all the chicken pieces, so I tend to not use the alfoil. But if I'm got a lot of chicken in there and bits of the chicken are sticking up out of the liquid, cover it with alfoil. It just keeps the chicken a little bit more tender and not dry out. So what else do you need to know? That's probably about it. It's pretty simple little dish. It's one of those, throw it in the oven, or you can do it in your slow cooker. But just keep an eye on it, because you don't want it to the point where the chicken just falls off the bone. Well, you might, but I prefer that the chicken stay a little bit on the drumsticks, because then, you know, it's sort of part of the presentation of the dish. You've got a nice, yummy, sweet drumstick to chew on. And then I just serve it with some rice. Keep it simple, and then in the steamed rice I'll mix a heap of veggies, just so that you do get some greens, because it is a very sweet dish, so it'll be packed with calories, I'm sure. But hey, it's apricot chicken. So that is my apricot chicken recipe. If you were so inclined, I wonder if I could rough that edge up. And the other dish that you were all inquiring about, porcupines. Now, in Australia, we don't have porcupines. We actually have an echidna. And he's a little fellow with a little rubbery type spikes. They're not sharp like your porcupines that you have overseas. They're like a soft rubbery spike on them. So, yeah, this dish is called porcupines. Similar process to apricot chicken, but this time you get some mince. I usually do a kilo of mince at a time, and I pop that into a bowl. Salt, pepper. You can add any other herbs you like. You might want a little bit of garlic. You can chop up some onion. You can really put anything in the porcupines. Just know I don't usually do any vegetables in it, because they have to be really finely cut. Otherwise, lumps of carrot and things like that will make the porcupine collapse. So you sort of want it to sort of glue together, if you want, for a better word. I sometimes hide in it bok choy, like I might cut up the spinach, bok choy, things like that, and put that through. But that sort of cooks down to nothing. It's in there, but it's not causing structural integrity to your porcupines. Then it's a case of adding 2 cups of cooked rice. You can use raw rice. You just have to cook it longer and slower in the oven. But if you're in a hurry, cook your rice, which I tend to do now. I remember making this dish at school when I was a kid, and it was uncooked rice. And then I think it's slow cooked for like over an hour, very low and slow, so that the rice absorbed moisture. I had that sticking up there and I don't like it, so I'm just taking that off. Don't know why I did that. So yeah, it's a case of low and slow if your rice is uncooked. But lately, probably the last 20 years, I've been just cooking the rice and using that in it, because it's then doesn't have to cook as long, and it, yeah, you can guarantee that people aren't going to be eating a porcupine and get a piece of hard rice in the process. So yeah, where was I? Kilo of mince, if you're making a big batch, kilo of mince, 2 cups of rice, and then get some of those really big tins of tomato soup. The bigger the tin, the better. And you're also going to add some water as well. So mix up the rice and the mince in your hand after you've put all your seasoning in, and just make little rissoles. Not too big. Well, you could make big ones if you want, but I don't make them too big. But I am putting them into little containers to go into the freezer at Dad's place. So I sort of don't make the porcupine too big, and I can get 3 small rissoles into a little takeaway container. So it's just a case of forming them all up, popping them in a shallow casserole dish, probably about 1.5 to 2 inches deep. Lay them all out with a little bit of a gap between them all, so that the liquid can sort of circulate around them. And pour in your soup straight over the top, and bake it off. And I also, for the tin of soup I put half water, whatever the tin is, half the water again, and just drizzle that over the top. It just makes it more of a liquid and gives more opportunity for, you know, to have plenty of sauce at the end of it. And the same as the chicken, I just pop it in the oven on 180 degrees. You can cover it if your rissoles are all sticking out of the liquid, depending on the height of your container. Or if they're sitting just under the level of the liquid, you can, you don't need to use some alfoil. You just don't want the top of your porcupines to get all sort of brown and burnt off because they've been exposed to the heat. So that's the only theory there. I'm going to take that edge off there. It just doesn't feel right. So yeah, that's 2 family favourite dishes, real old school stuff. I don't know what their origins are. I'm going to say probably English, but I do not know. Well, my family are a mix of German and Prussia, and on both sides, a little bit of English, but mainly German. So I'm wondering if it's one of those types of dishes that were pretty common in Germany. So yeah, that's the family recipe. I meant to say too, with the apricot chicken, the French onion soup that you sprinkle in over the dish, that's a thickening agent. So it also puts the flavour of onion in there, and mushroom, and whatever else is in French onion soup. It's the powder packet where you would mix it up in a cup. Well, it's used as like a thickening agent. So even though you water it down with some liquid, the French onion soup sort of thickens things up, makes a bit of a gravy, if you will, for want of a better description. So yeah, so that's the 2 dishes. They're easy to make, taste great, comfort food. And the rissoles, we usually just put them on toast. You could do vegetables with it and have them like a rissole with some veggies, of course. But it's one of those quick dishes. So yeah, we tend to just pop it on toast. They freeze really well. They reheat really well. You can always, if you find that the mixture has got a little dry, the sauce, you can get another tin of tomato soup, and when you go to reheat the dish, you can always add some more tomato soup to sort of moisten them up a little bit. So yeah, there's the dishes. See, it's a cooking episode. I'm a bit of a old school cook. I tend to go to those older recipes. There's all this fancy new ways of doing things out there, and some of my girlfriends are very much into following those sorts of trends, but I'm a little bit old school. I learnt the recipes a long time ago, and I tend to just go back to them. And when I do dinner parties, I've got a bit of a reputation for being old school cooking. Like when people come to my dinner parties, I always hear comments, "Oh, this is just the way Grandma used to make it." That's what I tend to get. So when it comes to the desserts, I will go hunting for old desserts like bread and butter pudding, or what's that one? I've gone blank. Lemon meringue pie, things like that we just don't seem to see much anymore. And everyone gets such a buzz out of them. They're like, "Oh, I haven't had this since Grandma used to make it." I don't know if they're telling me something. But I've got this cookbook. It's famous in Australia. All the Aussie girls will know what I'm about to say. And when we were learning cooking at school, it was sort of the textbook that we were given. It was called Everyday Cooking. And it is still my go-to book. I'm sure every country has a classic cookbook they probably give all the kids in grade 10 or grade 8 when they're just starting to find their way into a kitchen and learning some of the basics, because it's just full of simple recipes, wholesome. And, you know, we'd cook them at school, and then you'd take the dish home on the bus, and Mum was wrapped because she had dinner coming that was cooked. And I do like cooking. Well, my husband would say I complain about cooking. But, you know, I complain about having to cook all the time the same stuff. But if I can find something new or an old recipe, or I have a reason to cook, like I'm working this week on cooking lots of meals to go into Dad's freezer so that he's, you know, got simple, easy to grab meals. So that's a reason to cook. So I'm thoroughly enjoying the process of thinking about what I'm going to cook, getting the ingredients, preparing everything, trying to make it efficient, mass making, you know. That's the buzz. But if you were to ask me next week, do you enjoy cooking, and you're just making something for my husband and I, it's like, oh, no. Cooking is a task. That's what I mean by, because my husband goes, "You always complain about cooking." When someone says to me, "Do you like cooking?" And I say, "Yeah, I do." And he'll go, "Yeah, but you always complain about it." And that's because I'm just cooking for us, and it's boring. You start making some of these dishes where you don't want to eat porcupines for the whole week. I should just freeze them. But it's sort of a handy little week, because as I cook these dishes for my father, we sneak a bit out for ourselves as well. So it's sort of something a bit different. So tonight I'll get this apricot chicken made, and we can have a little bit ourselves. So dinner is sorted, and in the process I'm making, you know, 6-7 other meals for the freezer for Dad. I bought 2 packs of drumsticks, and they're huge drumsticks. I hate to meet the chicken they come from. They're pretty big. These are prehistoric dinosaur chickens, big meat chickens. But that's good. You know, I can put some rice in the little container, and the containers are only about that high. So I can put some rice in there with some veggies in it, and then pop the drumstick on top. A little bit of the sauce. Bob's your uncle. Quick, easy meal. So yeah, my father's about to start harvesting onions. He's a small crops vegetable farmer. And unfortunately, we lost Mum earlier in the year, around March. So Dad's really noticed the fact that he now not only has a farm to run, and it's a labour-intensive farm because it's vegetable growing, and he has a market stall to the road. Plus he supplies the local grocery stores whenever there's, you know, enough to go around, of course, that he can't sell through. He'll go a little bit further afoot to sell his produce. And he sort of does every vegetable you can imagine, but onions and pumpkins are his main staple crops. That sort of gives the cash flow to his business that will get him through the seasons where you don't grow a lot of vegetables. So it gives him like that cash he needs to pay for the diesel and the power bill. So yeah, they're sort of the big crop. So now we're coming into onion season, and he's like, I won't say worldwide famous for his onions, but he's pretty famous for his onions. And he's been growing them since he was probably 16 when he first got his first farm. And he's 75 next February. So one could debate that it's time to stop growing onions. But hey, we're not going to say that outside this room. It is what it is. Once a farmer, always a farmer. So onion season is coming, and it's November into December. So it is hard work. Not only is it hot, you're racing against those summer storms, because when the onions are ready, they need to be harvested. It's on. And if there's a lot of rain and there's moisture in the soil, and then you add the heat the next day, your onions can very quickly go rotten in the ground, and you sort of chase your tail a bit, and then it gets to a point where Dad will say, I just have to plough them in now. They've beaten me. The weather's beaten me. So you sort of hope for a very dry summer, which we're not getting these lately. Last 2 years, he's really worked hard to get probably half, 3/4 of the crop into the shed before the rain beats him. So, and I think we're going to have a similar season. So having no mum around anymore to keep the home fires going and the food up to him, because he's working pretty hard. He has some helpers come, some other old fellas. Oh boy. He's got a fan club, and they come and they sit with him and chat and help and chat, and cups of tea and chat. You can imagine it, all over in the hay shed. And then they'll come across to the house and they'll have lunch with him and chat, another cup of tea. And then off they toddle back down to the farm and chat. Then there's afternoon tea with cake. You know how it goes. Well, that is a lot harder now without Mum there to keep things sort of... It's keeping the calories up to Dad. I can tie that one off. Because it's such heavy work, Dad really chews through the calories. So Mum was always sort of trying to make sure that he had energy to do what he was doing. So this is his first onion season without Mum, and I think it's going to be a challenge. And probably his biggest complaint is that there's no cooked dinner when he gets in from the farm anymore. So he's really struggling with the fact that he comes in and let's be honest, he's knackered. He's knackered. And then to turn around and have to cook a meal for himself is just hard. Well, it's hard for the best of us, let alone full-time farming. So hence why we have decided to Dad's decided to put the farm on the market. It's time to slow down, but he does have this crop of onions that he wants to get in. So, yeah, if I can help with a few cooked meals, well, not a few, I tend to probably do about 60 to 70 meals just to have them in the freezer ready to go. Bit of everything. He can grab them and eat and then go to bed, recharge, and get up the next day to do it all again. So that's my bit. I can't get there to harvest onions. Not that I really want to. Those days are long gone. So, yeah. That's what I'm up to. So I plan to get up to the farm this week and restock his freezer. Do a few little chores, help him out with a few little odds and ends. And, yeah. We're hoping we get a buyer for the farm because it's a great little farm. Like, it's ready to go. He's put in infrastructure over the years that if anyone wanted a ready-to-go vegetable farm, you know, everything's there. The water, the plumbing, the tanks, the irrigation, like it's just literally ready to go. Bit of a lifestyle. I really like that, but it's too big. Maybe I tear that down. So what other dishes do I plan to make for Dad? Let me think. I made some a few days ago as well. So there's quite a few in the freezer already. I've probably about 40 done. And I did some chicken kebabs sitting on a bed of fried rice. So rice with a heap of veggies in it. Trying to get veggies into him as well. So that's all done. What else did I do? You know, when you can buy those chickens that are already deboned and they're laying flat, ready to go. And there's usually some form of sauce or seasoning or something over them. We've got them here in Australia, and they're great, quick, easy grab cooking. So I did one that was flavoured butter chicken. I need a little thingy on that. So I got a butter chicken, baked it, and then made another rice with veggies in it and just cut the chicken up into a heap of pieces. I think I got like 9 meals out of that one chicken sitting on a bed of rice and veg. What else did I make? Oh, of course, the porcupines are in the freezer, and I got 8 out of that, 8 dishes, and then my husband and I also had porcupines for dinner. So technically probably would have got 11 if I had you know, frozen the whole thing. I'll get this apricot nectar done. I'd have some also braised meat type slow cook meals. They're also like in a cryo pack, and it's just a case of popping them in the oven. They heat up and cook, and then I will do a heap of boiled veggies to go with it, and that will make up, I think I've got like 4 or 5 pieces of meat there. I picked some beef this time, different beef type dishes. So with that and some boiled veggies, some pumpkin potato, sweet potato, and then some greens, little cob of corn, and then these meats will come out of the bag that you cook them in, and they will make up some yummy meals for him. What else was I planning to do? Oh, I did a pasta bake probably about a week ago, and it was just pasta, added in a tomato base pasta sauce, and then I put in a heap of veggies, heaps and heaps of greens, and then a tin of tuna, a really big tin of tuna, and that made heaps. So I've got quite a bit in the freezer. Probably started 2 weeks ago, just sort of prepping a few. It's not such a big job, and I knew I was going to get up there this weekend, so I thought I will start, especially if you cook something for ourselves, and I just expand it out, and it just sort of doesn't take much to add that little extra to the pot. Before you know it, you've got, you know, extra. So yeah, that's what I've been doing this week, cooking up a storm and finishing these little journals, which has been really good. Okay, so how are we going? I might pop a little bird there. What have we got? Little birds. Haven't even checked that you guys can even see the screen, but I'm sure you can guess what I'm doing over there off screen. Talk about make it hard for you all. There's a little turned up corner. So this is the last one. How are we going for time? 30 minutes. Plenty of time. So it took 3 hours, 3 videos to finish these journals. Admittedly, 2 journals were already stitched in, remember? We come along and found that 2 were already done, but you know, that's still, what, a 5-minute job? So it's not like that was probably a big saving of time. These are really a homage to Roxy Creations, because 99% of this paper is Rachel. Probably should have folded that, but I didn't. I'm starting to feel a bit hungry. I need breakfast, guys. I need breakfast. I hope you're all well. I don't know if I asked you that. Hope all is good where you are. It's so pretty. Oh, look at that. I'm going to put a piece of that in. It's torn making it with that white hedge. Just snip that off. What's on the other side? Little bird. What will we do next? These 3 little videos. What will we do next? Don't know. I'll have to go for a little look in my cupboard and see if there's anything that catches my eye that I'm so inclined. Might help if I glued that up the right way. I feel like I need to put it there. What's going there? Now it's going there. Let's put this on that edge. I really want to get into Christmas. Maybe we do that next. Maybe we can squeeze in another unfinished project. I don't know. What will we do? Is that up the right way? I feel like it looks upside down. That's better. Yeah, so I don't know what to tell you will be next. Who knows? I will see what comes of tomorrow when I walk into my craft room and go, what will we do today? Could be anything. Sort of feel like doing some stitching, but I don't know. Don't know. Sticky fingers, sticky fingers. What have we got left in our little scrap pile? A piece of map. That'll be. I guess if anyone's got a recipe that you reckon might suit Dad, drop it in the comments, guys. If there's just a good classic, don't make it too complicated. Keep it to just some good simple ingredients, things that I might have in my pantry. Just pop the name of it in the comments and I'll go and have a little Google search and see if I can find it. I prefer ones where I can bake them. So let's sort of narrow down the possibilities. Something that I can just pop into the oven and it's done. So yeah, if there's anything that's a bit of a family favourite, I often make shepherd's pie is another good one because you can put lots and lots of veggies in shepherd's pie. So that's a bit of a favourite. I might just put those back on the ball clip because I'm officially finished embellishing. So these little flowers can go back on the ball clip for another rainy day. And back into the Rachel box. I might actually put a paper clip on them. Don't need the bulk. The little birds, didn't use many of them. They can go back into the box. And I have some itty bitty scraps. Not much. Gee, we did well. Got rid of some bits and pieces, but we will keep them because you just never know. There's another piece there. Okay, and then there was a little bit of that old paper, so I might put that all together. Did we get the paper clip with the tassel? Yes, that's there. So I believe now we could move on to stenciling. I'm going to do a bit of a tidy up. Have some sari silk in the cupboard this colour. And I just haven't done a journal that it sort of suits. It's so beautiful. And this bit's been kicking around on my table. It was for ages on my pincushion. And it's now come off my pincushion. It's now kicking around the table again. And I really would love to find a project where I can use it. Because maybe Christmas. Yeah, maybe Christmas. It's like a rich port wine red. It's so beautiful. Anyway, focus. Now, let's go through and stencil our last journal. So yeah, if you have a recipe that's a bit of a family favourite that bakes in the oven, simple ingredients, something you think Dad would like, pop it in the comments, because there might be something there you remind me of that I haven't cooked for ages. I know there's lots of stews and, you know, all that type of thing, but I tend not to cook that type of stuff. They're either amazing or they're really ordinary. So I find often that I tend to avoid making stews. I don't think I'm real good at them. Shepherd's pie I'm good at. Lots of pasta dishes. Dad doesn't love like lasagna. He finds that's too heavy, too much pasta. So I tend to do like spiral pasta and then put lots of veggies in it and some meat through it. So it's sort of just got something to break it up, if you will. So he doesn't like lasagna. He likes lots of Asian dishes with that fried rice, because, you know, Chinese takeout just doesn't exist in our little country town. So if we were to go to town, a treat would be to get some Chinese for dinner on our way home. So anything that's got a bit of rice in it, he's a big fan. So I tend to have that in amongst my cooking. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you think. Might be something you can suggest. Make me go hunting for a recipe. We get so used to doing the same old dishes, don't we? To have some new ideas. And I guess if you're watching this video and you too are looking for some inspiration, have a look through the comments. There might be some great dishes there that we can all go and make and rekindle some childhood memories, especially these older style dishes. I don't make any puddings or anything like that for Dad. I don't know. I just want to put good food into his freezer. He can easily get to a bakery and buy a treat, or, you know, there's always rubbish around that he can easily access. And he loves fruit. So if anything, he's a bit of a fruit bat. He would pick up a pawpaw at the fruit shop before he'd pick up a cake. So fruits, that type of eating. Did I do this one in here? No, I didn't. Him eating fruit, good food, fruit, is never been an issue. So I don't really want to go down the whole baking a dessert for him, because he'd rather have a piece of fruit after dinner, like a bunch of grapes or a banana, or which is really good. Very fortunate there. Our whole family's been a bit that way. We sort of, you know how it's come about? I've just sort of had a memory. Because we were vegetable farmers, we'd have lots of people coming to the farm to buy the vegetables. Now, some of them would travel from the coast, the Queensland coast, into where my parents' farm was to buy their fruit, buy their vegetables. And of course, they may have been farmers as well, and they may grow a lot of fruit. We don't have a lot of fruit in our district. It's more of a vegetable area due to the climate. So often they would turn up with a box of oranges or a box of mangoes or a heap of pineapples and pawpaws and all these beautiful fruits that we can't grow in our area. So as you can imagine, deals were done. I've got glue on that page. I need something to go there. Just looking for a scrap bit of paper. Yeah, so deals were done. I'll give you a box of pawpaws in exchange for a bag of onions and 2 pumpkins. That's that's usually how it went. So fruit, other than maybe biscuits and the odd cake, Mum wouldn't make a lot of puddings because there was always an abundance of fruit sitting on the table from deals. And it's like eggs. Mum used to have chooks when I was a kid, but then when they downsized from the big farm to a smaller version about 15 years ago, Mum didn't do the chooks again. She was sort of over the whole chooks. And but we never seemed to be out of eggs because deals were done. Whoever had chooks, they'd come around with a dozen eggs and they'd get a pumpkin. Okay? Isn't that how it works in the bush? So I think that's probably why Dad's so used to having a piece of fruit at the end of the day after dinner, because there was just heaps of it. And when you're given a case of oranges, you've really got to get into them. You can't dawdle, because you'll be, before you know it, there'll be three pawpaws and a pineapple sitting on the table. So yeah, hence why I don't make puddings. I do like my puddings, don't get me wrong. I like a good apple crumble, but it's usually heavy, stodgy food, isn't it? You never feel good after pudding. It's great on the tongue, but not so good once you're eating it and you're lying there in bed digesting your piece of pie. We're very fortunate that there's a fantastic bakery in our country town that's opened up a few years ago, and they're a French themed bakery. The gentleman that owns the local pub, and he's got a vineyard. His mum went to France and studied French cooking, bakery, pastries, patisserie, and they've opened up a bakery in town, and oh boy, it's a little bit fancy. Well, not fancy as in, you know, fancy, but the pastries that they are being made there, everyone's very spoilt. There's a few places in Brisbane that do that, but to have that quality of cooking in a little country town, and it's a country town that's on the side of a major inland highway. So there's a lot of caravanners that come through, and because this little town now has got a fantastic pub, a great bakery, antique stores to browse through, and there's some big dams around the district, some vineyards, which are all dairy farmers that have turned their hand to growing grapes, ex-dairy farms. It's a fantastic area sort of to come through if you're in a van. And the showgrounds offers camping, somewhere to camp for a very small fee, and there's a couple campgrounds that have opened up on the feeder roads into this town. So yeah, it's fast become a fantastic stop. And of course Dad's got his little veggie stall out the front of the farm, and he just stocks it daily with all these goodies that he grows as these travellers go through town. So it's fast becoming quite a well-known little area, which is great because it went through many years of what used to be a bustling little town, and it had 3 banks and a butcher, a baker and a candlestick maker. You know how it goes. And that's when I was a kid there going to school. But over the years, as all of us kids moved away, the school sort of shrunk. No one was staying because there were no jobs, and it just, I don't know, it died a little bit. A few little industries popped up. It was like antique shops everywhere, but that all folded. So now its food has won the war, and the town is thriving. There's farms close to town that are being divided up into acreage allotments. So we're now got lifestyle blocks of land. So people who live in Brisbane can now, due to COVID, companies have realised that employees can possibly work from home. So that gives people the opportunity to move out into the country, more affordable. They can have their kids in a country school, have that country life. Oh, fantastic. So everyone's flocking to the area in droves. And because we've got a good bakery and some great services that have always been there, there's like daycare groups that have popped up in the old cricket grounds. There was a little building. Some of you will start to guess where I'm talking here. I haven't said the town's name, but some of you will probably guess. Yeah, there was a cricket ground and they had a little clubhouse that was a rack and ruin, and the council officially caretaked it, but they invested some money in it, cleaned it up, got rid of the asbestos in it, painted it, and now it's leased to a daycare group, mornings for young mums, and a craft group in the afternoon, and then there's a yoga class. The big town hall has, I see on the Facebook page, someone's running exercise classes, so they're doing exercise around the old town hall, which used to be for dancers back in the day. So it's like the place has just come alive. There's a choir has started. Yeah, it's really good. Lovely little community. I'm just going to dull that down a bit. It's a little bit bright white. And so is this paper here. Just want to notch that back a bit. It's like the volume turned up. That's better. Oh, what fun. You just want to play more. Like, there's so much more I could do. But it's not mine to do. That there needed probably something in it. And we're coming up to the hour. How good is that? The job is done. It took 3 videos, so about 3 hours. That's all there was, 3 hours work to do, and this project is finished. My goodness sakes. That's how close you get to finishing something, and then for some reason you stop and it goes into the cupboard. Yeah. Double checking it all. Got our tassel. Smudge that back a bit in colour. Awesome. Lots and lots of spaces to write and play. Okay, time to put the sari silk around. Let's get the ink out of the way before we have a disaster. And I hope you've enjoyed me prattling on. And you're probably wondering, where is this country town that she is talking about? Because you just want to hop in your car and go for a drive and check out this fantastic bakery and all the other things the district has to offer. Well, should I tell you? It's Gameri in the South Burnett. So for the Brisbane people, probably the only ones that will actually hop in the car and go for a drive, head north to Gympie, and at Bells Bridge, follow the highway to the left. So you turn at Bells Bridge, there's a big roundabout, turn left, out you go about an hour, and you will pass through a little town called Kilkeven, and then the next town is Gameri. So there you go. Now you know where my hometown is and the district that I grew up. All right, guys, that's it. I'm finished. The job is done. We have 5 little journals. Where'd they get to? I've been putting them on the bench. Let me go and grab them. And we've used some scraps. Excellent. Sorry, guys. Just had to shoot across the other side of the room to grab the journals. Look at that. 5 little Roxy Creations inspired envelope covered journals with random pages and random yummies inside. There you go, all waiting for their new owners. All right, everyone, I'm going to leave you in peace. I'm going to go and have some breakfast and have a think about what we do next. I don't know. Might have to go rummaging in my room and see what I can find. So we'll see you tomorrow in the next video, and we will see what we do. All right, guys, bye for now.